Well, I guess daunting is the right word. We are accountable for so much in our profession today. And you cannot do it, in my view, you can't do it alone. And you can't do it solo if that's your pleasure out of the gate. You have to be mentored, whether that's the
Mm.
kind of brokerage that you're joining or a specific team. But it's you need to have the appropriate guidance out there today for sure.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Level Up. As always, I'm Daniel. I'm here with Katie, and today we have a super special guest that I am very excited to introduce. We are joined today by Miss Dianne Usher. If you don't know her, you're about to, because Dianne has quite an amazing story we're going to dive into. But even in summary, this might take a couple seconds, so I apologize if this is a bit embarrassing, Dianne. But Dianne has held the titles of president of not just the Ontario Real Estate Association, not just the York Region Real Estate Board, but also the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, as well as countless positions and committee memberships and directorships in those organizations, as well as the Canadian Real Estate Association. I am fortunate enough to share a seat on currently the Government Relations Committee at the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, and that's how I've come to know Dianne. And it is an absolute pleasure to get to know her more. She's the managing broker at Sotheby's International Realty Canada, as well as the Senior Director of Ontario Talent Growth. If I got that right, please
Yes, you
correct me if
did.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
There are many more mouthfuls I could get out there, but then I wouldn't give you any platform to speak at all. So I am just going to say welcome once again, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Daniel. It is indeed a pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you. We're going to talk about all sorts of things today, and I'm going to dive right into it. Maybe with going beyond what I said and just letting people out there into a little bit of the backstory of what got you into real estate and what got you so involved in our industry to this point today.
Oh, wow. Great question. What got me into real estate was a move from Central Core or the west end of Toronto all the way to the country. And I didn't like the commute. And my real estate experience over that journey spawned an interest in getting into real estate, period. So for the first chunk of my real estate career, it was out in the country, selling farms. Yes, sometimes in my stilettos, yes, but selling everything from farms to vacant land to vintage homes. I kind of specialized a little bit in vintage homes, and still can certainly appreciate them. What got me involved in organized real estate was whining. So my broker of the day, I was complaining about whatever I was complaining about. It had something to do with MLS. That much I do remember. And he said, "Well, get involved, do something about it." And that's what started me getting involved in organized real estate at the York Region Real Estate Board. I think my first committee was on MLS, and then that morphed into professional standards and education.
Mm.
And then I went from York to Ontario to Toronto, and then Korea.
That's amazing. That's such an amazing progression. And in terms of what you learned in the organized real estate space, how did that help you within your own real estate business?
It's one of the things that I've really, really come to appreciate in real estate in general, that it's a career that has no boundaries. And there are many different avenues that you can take and progress. You can sell real estate forever in our profession. You can end up building your own brokerage, building your own team. You can morph into appraisal work. I morphed into, and in part because of my organized real estate activities and the educational component, I ended up doing an awful lot of mentoring in the brokerage that I was working for. Small brokerage, so I was one of those selling brokers, which is not an easy role at all. And quite frankly, I don't recommend it. But for many years, I was, as I said, a selling manager, mentoring, supporting, guiding, and coaching new people to the profession. Our profession is a wonderful profession, but it is a little daunting to get into, and certainly today more than ever before. When I started, it was a 5-week course, and you
Yeah.
had your license for forever. We didn't even have to recertify every couple of years at that point. And yes, I'm dating myself when I say that. However, it was daunting then. There was just so much to learn, so fast forward to today, it's even more daunting, more uh, well, I guess daunting is the right word. We are accountable for so much in our profession today. And you cannot do it, in my view, you can't do it alone. And you can't do it solo, if that's your pleasure out of the gate. You have to be mentored, whether that's the
Mm,
kind of brokerage that you're joining or a specific team. But you need to have the appropriate guidance out there today for sure.
yeah.
And so because of that, that's how I got into pure management. Because my involvement in organized real estate, I was able to connect with other brokers and other firms, and in other neighborhoods. So back just around 20 years ago now, I joined Royal LePage here in Toronto, strictly as a manager. And then I went from there to a regional manager, and then I went from there to a firm called Johnston and Daniel, which is the luxury division of Royal LePage in the corporate sphere, and then from there to Sotheby's International Realty Canada.
So you've done a couple of things.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a few.
You've been busy.
Yeah, yes.
Well,
And three plus two children together. I had all my babies while I was in real estate.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And that was fun and challenging also.
Yeah. I'm sure you brought them with you maybe in the early
Oh yes.
years. Yes.
Oh yes.
I
Little
remember
baskets
doing the
into the
same.
yeah.
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 it's amazing. Well, that's it. I mean, what you touched on, I mean, in your journey where we're at, and even the things you've done along the way, there's just so much change that
Yes.
continues,
Yes.
especially to this day. We're all aware, if you're in the Ontario market, especially, there's a big amount of change that's on the
Yes.
horizon again. Um, and it's interesting. It's funny. Some people might not have made the connection when you said whining is what got you into it. Just to clarify, that's not whining and dining. That's whining
No,
with an
no,
H.
that's
That's
whining with an H. That's
Whining
right.
and
some
planning.
people think, oh well, they're getting into this for all the fun. Yeah, you know what? It's fun. There's great stuff, but it really
Yes.
is your ability to see things that you feel could be improved and could be changed, and
Yes.
merit, I think, more sets of diverse eyes to make this industry better. And I thank you for really doing what you've done in the years prior to Katie and I starting to take the reins or share the reins with you on this sort of stuff as well. Um, but I think now that you, like you said, you've progressed and you're now at Sotheby's. You were in a luxury division of Royal LePage. We definitely want to talk about the connection of your experience, what you've learned along the way. There's people out there who hear luxury, and there's all kinds of images and thoughts, and the spectrum's pretty wide about what people think, what it is to get into it, what it is to sell it, to buy it, to own it. And I want to give you the floor on this, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but on Sotheby's, one thing that I read on Sotheby's website, which I think is so poignant, and I hope that this is in line with the approach that you take, is there's a line that says luxury is an experience, not a price point. And I
Mm,
think that
Well,
that is
thank you. Yeah.
that's
Thank
amazing.
you for thank you for sharing that, and that is the point that I would like to reinforce with you as well, Daniel, because that's what we believe, and that is what I hope we're noted for is the luxury experience. It's like that little blue bag from Tiffany's.
mm,
It's that experience when you give it and when you receive it. It's not about the value of the contents. It can be a $10,000 piece of jewelry, or it can be a little bangle like I like to wear.
Mhm.
It's just the experience and the excitement, and that's what we like to well, that's what we're known for, and
Mm.
that's what we like to certainly promote. But yes, we do sometimes have very expensive items in that little blue bag as
Mm.
well. And the luxury market is not a market that's I would say easy to break into, and people tend to grow into it. Um, the at my prior brokerage, the roots of that were founded on virtually only luxury, and it adapted to the marketplace as well. With the most of the which was very unusual for its time, most of the sales representatives were A, female, and B, married into Toronto's establishment of the time. So they started only as luxury here in the central part of Toronto and in like markets outside in the GTA as well. Today they're much like what we are here at Sotheby's. There's and if you go on to any of our websites, it's you'll see very affordable housing. In fact, I would say the majority is affordable, if you can call Toronto affordable these
Mm.
days.
Right. Yeah.
What I find interesting about the luxury market today is our experience is that there's a tremendous interest in acquiring luxury real estate in Toronto, in the Toronto area. And we're seeing this fall, quite frankly, a bit of a surge in the double-digit million-dollar properties selling, both at the condominium level and the freehold level, but more pronounced in the freehold level. Many of them have also been off market, often for privacy reasons.
Mm.
But I've been amazed. We've had four of them within the brokerage within the last week, which is surprising. But there's a tremendous amount of interest. I'm thinking in part it's because of and these are all with short closings, in part because of the luxury tax that's coming forward at January 1st. Having said that, um, the in speaking with my colleagues here and speaking to taxes in general, whether it's the luxury tax or otherwise, doesn't seem to impact the decision as a whole for that luxury buyer. So the luxury buyers are they just want luxury. They want what they want. They want it done. They want it turnkey, and they want it done very well as
Mm.
also.
Yeah.
And they want what they want when they want it, period.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, I could see that. In terms of, I guess, when somebody would like to break into that luxury market, I know, as you said, it's a challenging thing to do. Are there anything in particular that come to mind in terms of what somebody can do in terms of getting started? What are the actions that they should be taking to start progressing into that? Because I'd imagine it's not like, snap your fingers and next week you're in the luxury market. Like what's the progression points in your mind?
The progression points are actually changing and escalating. There's a greater opportunity to break into the luxury market today than there was even a few years ago. I would say about 10 years ago, the vast majority of luxury buyers were second and third and fourth time home buyers, whether that's condominiums or homes. Not so today. There's a new generation of wealth, so it's easier for example, for millennials to communicate with their sphere of influence in order to help them and assist them in acquiring luxury real estate. It would also be important to align yourself with a firm that provides a high level of service. Um, very important. Yes, it certainly does help if you're with a firm that's noted for luxury or there's a luxury affiliation of some description. So that's incredibly important to do that rather than just very small brokerages or brokerages with a different business model.
I think building on that, you mentioned also the importance, and we're huge advocates as well, of mentorship,
Oh,
training.
yes. Mhm.
Um, where I mean, it's obviously important, but when it comes to somebody, I mean, breaking into any successful type of
Right.
market, it's important, but in luxury especially, where's the value, or where's the approach one would take in identifying and aligning themselves, not just with the systems, but with the individuals and or teams who could act as mentors or act as coaches for them? uh Potentially, I don't know if it happens more as a opening you up to it, actual networks of people, or more so just to teach you the ins and outs of the different world that is luxury and the different way of thinking that is luxury.
Okay, so actually a terrific question. What's important is to align yourself in your early days with a firm that can teach you basic selling skills, not necessarily luxury. Focus on one thing at a time. There are firms out there that provide skills-based training for new realtors. Sotheby's here in Canada is not one of those firms. We do not hire people that are either A, part-time, or B, they've got to be experienced. And then when they're experienced, and they have some experience, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a lot of experience, we can then, in our firm, for sure, bring them on board and teach them and advise them of the nuances of luxury real estate. Our firm, and I suggest that we're not alone out there, but our firm is one that's noted for collaboration and collegiality. And our top tier realtors, super busy realtors that sell those double-digit $1 million properties that I'm referring to, carry the same business card that I do, carry the same business card that somebody that is brand new to the office, somebody that's perhaps from a different generation and younger. We all carry the same card. However, we want to ensure that that same business card represents a higher level of service. So there's a tremendous amount of help, support, guidance, even if you're not part of an individual team, even if you're not in partnership with somebody, even if you are capable of going solo, you can still benefit from the support that we give within the organization. That's through webinars, that's through mastermind series, that's through our sales meetings. And I'll give you an example. Our top tier team here. I don't think it's appropriate, perhaps, if I mention names, unless you want me to. I asked them. I said, "Hey, gentlemen, would you be kind enough to share your predictions for the luxury market going into 2024 with your colleagues here at Yonge Street?" Well, of course, all the reps came from Ontario, not all of them, but the vast majority of them did. And I would say probably about 75% of the sales representatives in Sotheby's in Ontario attended that one, but attend most of them as well. They were captivated by these two people that not only spoke eloquently and knowledgeably and shared their experiences, shared their insights with what could be considered competitors. They shared that for almost 45 minutes, and then there was a Q&A. These are two really busy gentlemen. Not only did they take time out of their day that day, but they researched to make sure that they had the empirical data to support their commentary as well. So,
Mm.
so when you have that kind of culture that nurtures the support to help you grow into the luxury marketplace, and that morphs not just here within one office, but that within the organization as a whole, and that also includes Sotheby's in other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's huge because I know Sotheby's has such a large presence throughout
Yes,
North
yes,
America and beyond. So
yes.
that's really important. And that collaboration piece, I often find it can be hard to come by in
Very much
brokerages.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we've seen for ourselves with our small brokerage, it's amazing how collaboration just elevates everyone as opposed
Yes.
to knocking people down. Because I've worked for brokerages where you walk into the office and you can tell people are just looking at you and wondering,
Yeah.
are you going
Yeah.
to take my next listing, things like that. And
Right.
it's just
That's
not
right.
a positive experience at all.
That's right. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
Yeah. So
I
in
I
terms
know.
of, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I know individuals at other firms. This is with prior brokerages years ago now, that would take their garbage home out of their office at night.
Oh my
They would.
gosh.
So you talk about competitive. It's not as you said, Katie. Not a pleasant experience at all.
No, it's just, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's nice
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
nice to see. And you just have to seek out those brokerages that support the
Yes.
collaboration piece, because that's how
Yes.
you'll do so much better in your
That's
career.
right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So in terms of the lead generation piece for agents in the luxury market, is it different, do you find, than, a typical residential transaction, or in terms of finding leads, or do you find it's a little bit different?
I find it is different from the perspective that higher net worth individuals want to ensure that their realtor is um, capable. So they screen their realtor. It's not just sort of a buddy or somebody that they answered from a flyer that was put
Mm,
in their doorway. And then that realtor has the opportunity, should they choose, to connect other like-minded realtors with that same client for different marketplaces. So, for example, it's not uncommon here to refer people from Toronto to Vancouver to Montreal, making a Canadian type move. Sometimes people will do, particularly at this time of year, a Florida move. We do Florida, quite a bit of work with Florida. So you develop relationships and referrals to generate your leads on a reciprocal basis, um, um, internationally as well.
okay.
It's
Yeah, Florida
interesting.
and Arizona also.
Oh,
I
okay.
I
Interesting.
find that I guess looking at it from 10,000 feet, I wish that's how everybody just naturally worked, because it is sort of the nature of how networking and how people
Yes.
helping people
Yeah.
should be. And I don't know if it's just sort of natural that someone of high net worth is in that position because they've figured it out a little bit quicker, if that's what makes the
Yeah.
world go round. Um,
Right.
but definitely, I mean, that's a sort of approach that hopefully most people are taking, irrespective of whether they're in luxury or not, is looking to help
Right.
people
Yes.
in other
Yes.
places, because it does come back to you for sure. Um,
And that was me. I was doing the networking when in my early days in real estate, but I used it through organized real estate, connecting myself with other realtors in other communities, um, where I was likely to have a crossover. Not everybody wanted to, leave the city and come and move to my little community north of the city. Sometimes they'd want to move to Oakville or Mississauga or Woodbridge. So I would connect them with realtors in other communities. So regardless of your brand, make those connections.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just these are all I guess that's it should go without saying, but the caveat to this entire episode is these are all lessons people need to take with them, irrespective of what area of the business, or even if you're
That's right.
not in real estate, like these are
Yes.
just life lessons of how to do business and how to talk to
Right.
people and
Right.
grow yourself as an individual. So, speaking
Well said.
a little bit more specifically about, I guess, the nature of the industry in where we are right now, the economy in a tougher spot, generally speaking. It's interesting that you said, this has been one of the busier times on the luxury side of things, which
Right.
which to somebody who's out there grinding on maybe not the double digit $1 million properties, they're saying, well, wait a second, interest rates are at, you know, in recent memory all-time highs.
Yep.
Nobody's buying, nobody's selling. It's so hard. What do you mean people are buying? Now, is there, when you're in luxury, is there a different sort of correlation or analytic that you can do to start to predict where things are going? You mentioned that, the two gentlemen who did the presentation were able to use data to give
Yes.
some insight. Is it just on a different sort of cycle? Is it almost entirely based on, like you said before, people of that looking for those properties, they get what they get when they want it, and it's not
That's
really
right.
tied to the market necessarily.
Correct. Yeah.
Are there metrics you still look at? Like you mentioned, the tax regulation might have an impact. Is it that like regulatory environment that has more impact than anything?
I would say to a lesser extent with the luxury market, that would have an impact in that sort of the mid-range market, not the and of course with the entry level for sure. But the luxury buyer and seller, they're not vulnerable to interest rates, mortgage stress tests. They're not vulnerable to anything of that nature. And when they see something that they like, they don't care if it's a buyer's market or it's a seller's market. And you're quite right, Daniel. People are out there and they're grinding away, for sure. However, you take a look at the mindset of the luxury buyer and seller, they're looking at every day as an opportunity. A year ago, 2 years ago, it was very, very much, and for the prior 15 years, it was by and large a seller's market. Right now, today's realtor is having to pivot and adapt to a changing market. It's a changing market, not a bad market. It's a buyer's market. It's a different market, for sure. And if you're just brand new to the profession in the last year or so, it's a great time because it's not a cakewalk. You're not an order taker. You're having to research. You're having to provide advice, not just take an offer and be one of 20 offers on a listing. So coming into the profession in the last year, it is really, really to your advantage. My observation has been that people that have been in the business like 8, 9, 10 years have only seen one market and they're
Mm,
struggling. They're just trying to change their mindset to say it's not such a bad market out there right now. I also think that there was a statement made a number of years ago, and I don't know if it's the quote is 100%, but Warren Buffett said, "When everybody else is selling, that's when you buy. When
mm,
everybody else is buying, that's when you sell." And that I think really sums it up from a luxury perspective as well.
yeah. Oh, that's great. So for your agents that are coming in, or just maybe in the industry in general, what do you find are the main challenges that they're running into right now? Or what are the things that you see agents doing out there that you think maybe they should focus their attention on something else? Do you find there's a common trend with agents right now?
Yes, the common trend is that the brokerage support. So when I have realtors approach me, wanting to take a look at opportunities, they're looking for more support and more oversight. As much as I'm not a current fan of the current graduates from real estate school, and in that they're not practice ready as we had hoped they would be, um, I understand now that they're being counseled to join a brokerage that provides support. They're being counseled to join a team if they can, if there's a team available for them to join. And a team can be very worthwhile, or a small brokerage like yours, for example, that's an intimate brokerage where you're there to help. All your sales representatives. That's really, really important. But it's important to have guidance on a regular basis. When you're exposed to a team, you can see firsthand like how they're negotiating, how the documents are prepared, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like, I think it ties into what you were saying before, that this is, for the first time in a little bit, people are doing the job the way the job was meant to be done again. Like
Yes. Yeah.
it's been a bit easy, might be unfair because
Yeah.
everyone's working hard, but for the last few
Yeah.
years, there has been a little bit more order taking and a little bit
Yes.
less paying attention to what needs to be done to get the job done the right way. And so
Right.
it's more important than ever to have that support around you, especially when you're starting.
Yes.
And arguably, for those who joined the last 2, 3 years and have only had it fairly easy, you might need a little bit of a refresher that you never got to
Yes.
get back
Yes.
into it.
Y
Um,
yes, very true, very
Mhm.
true.
Yeah. So I mean, I do want to. I know we're getting there in timing now. I know you've got. I mean, I'm sure you have a couple of things to do today. Probably a couple of things that you're up to.
Yeah.
But I do want to make sure people know how to find you, how to find Sotheby's. People are all their interest is peaked right now, and everybody's jumping into the luxury market this evening. So your phone's going to be ringing off the hook. But how can they find you, and what should they do to get for more information?
Just reach out to me at DUSHER at sotheby'srealty.ca, or our phone number here at Yonge Street is 416-960-9995. Gosh, I'll even give you my cell phone. How about that?
Oh
Well,
wow, I don't know. That's up to you. We'll muffle it. Maybe let's leave one digit off, and we'll have people having a bit of a race to see who can find your phone number. No,
Okay.
no, it's up to you. I think
No.
yeah. Why don't they'll find you? They can email you, and I
Yes,
think
yes, yes.
we'll
if
leave it all in the show notes too.
that's right. If you email
Perfect.
Dianne, though, make reference to how much you want to learn and how much you understand the importance of being a good professional, and maybe then she'll give you her cell phone number. Otherwise, I don't know. You're
Yeah,
gonna have
that
to try
sounds like a
again.
great idea, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you, and just, as a female, especially, and just
Yes.
seeing like everything you've accomplished and the leadership roles that you've taken on, it's really, really inspiring. And looking forward to seeing others follow in your footsteps. And I know you've inspired a lot of people from even that excellence of service perspective, number one, but also from getting involved in industry and just making a big impact, because it's so important, especially nowadays, just to elevate our profession to the highest level for that consumer.
Well, Katie, thank you very, very much. And I want to give a shout out to both of you for what you're doing, both with your brokerage and in the profession as a whole as well. You're the next generation of realtor. What you're doing today is laying the foundation for the next generation of realtor. And I'm really, really proud to have. Certainly, I've come to know Daniel a little bit, and it's a pleasure to meet you as well, Katie. That's awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
That might be the new opening audio for the podcast going forward. I like that. Well, thank you once again, Dianne. It's always a
It's my
pleasure.
pleasure.
I look forward to seeing you again really soon, and maybe we'll have
Yeah.
you back on here again, because something tells me there's going to be a lot of follow-up comments and questions requesting you back on the program down the road for sure.
Oh, well, you're wonderful. Thank you both very, very much. And I wish you all the best for an awesome weekend.
You too.
You
Thank you.
too. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Level up, level up, level up, level up.